Loans.com. Push button, get mortgage.
Rocket.
Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
When commercials come on, don't push the button. Instead, listen. Even if you don't sell things for a living, you're still selling in the various conversations and transactions that make up your busy day. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're a job seeker. So take a lesson from Madison Avenue. Often the fewer words, the more effective the message. Like Jiffy Lube, where you never need an appointment, or the Office Max ad that says, you supply the ambition, we supply everything else. How about online ticket broker StubHub.com, the way in when it's sold out, or CyberCupidMatch.com's seductive, go ahead, it's okay to look. How cleverly and succinctly can you distill your message? For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live shows 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Wednesday, gold is $18 lower at $1,317 per ounce. Silver is 40 cents lower at $19.50 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $670 US. Talk of a possible Fed rate hike later this year has silver and gold down sharply, making it a great time to buy on the dip. For more information, give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking about waste, not just, the thing between your torso and your hips, but actual like food waste and the waste of plastic bags and packaging that winds up filling up landfills, and a few people that are doing something that does not involve government to solve the problems. We'll get back into this and, of course, your phone calls to 855-450-FREE. We've got Rudy calling in from Arizona listening to 1340 K-Talks. Rudy, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hey, guys.
Rudy?
Before I get to what I called about, you were talking about those plastic bags from the supermarket. Out here in the desert, it's a huge valley with mountains all around, 10 miles across by 30 miles long. And there's our landfill. It's way over there, near the mountain. And those plastic bags, every time that there's like a real good windstorm, they have to go to the labor ready, like the day labor guys that get paid minimum wage, and they hire like 10 of them because the plastic bags, they go for miles.
Yeah.
And they'll blow out of the dump and go for miles. It depends on which way the wind's blowing, and they'll just hook into every tree and bush, and it is the ugliest thing you've ever seen. There's thousands and thousands of them. Just it's ugly.
I'm imagining cacti with your plastic bag coverings like they've been wrapped, ready to go.
And I'm thinking of the movie American Beauty.
That was a paper bag, I believe.
Plastic bag.
I don't know.
Yeah, but 10,000 of those, Chris, not just one.
I know. Go ahead, caller. I'm sorry.
What I called about last night on listening to BBC, and I just caught part of it. There was a guy talking about Bitcoin, and there's this. Okay, let me. What I got from what I heard was that the blockchain part of Bitcoin, where I don't know that much about that Bitcoin, but they said that the amount of servers that are used to keep track of the Bitcoin is incredible. It's a huge waste of servers and electricity, and this guy he thought up a way to I don't know, not use as much server space or electricity. Or is that true? Does the Bitcoin itself use a lot of servers and electricity and has to keep running all the time?
Chris, you're probably the most technically inclined on the show tonight.
Boy, what an honor. Without knowing exactly what he was saying, I mean, you can say that there's a whole lot of computing power being performed in the act of mining Bitcoin.
Right. There are a lot of petahashes.
Sure. And
all I know is that's a bunch of hashes.
That is a ton, a boatload. But, there is a ton of computing power out there, and if you could come up with a more efficient way of mining, which they're always trying to do, the problem with mining Bitcoins, which means solving complex mathematical problems with computing power, is that when we reach these points, that the difficulty in mining a single Bitcoin always gets more difficult and more difficult and more difficult, so it takes more computing power. So what people used to be able to do on an old laptop sitting around the house to get themselves a brand new shiny Bitcoin now takes dedicated hardware. It takes vast investments in computing power and electricity to power all that. So most of the mining now takes place in places that have very affordable electricity.
And one thing that is being missed is the decentralization and whatnot of not only Bitcoin, but all cryptocurrencies, to where there's not a single server. So with, say, your local bank, chances are there's a single server. There's, one, possibly 2 or 3 points of failure. Whereas with Bitcoin, if somebody took out 3 computers that were doing Bitcoin mining, well, there's still going to be hundreds, if not thousands, of other computers that are still doing the mining and still running the client and still keeping Bitcoin afloat.
And this is, let me bring up an analogy where how I see this, because this is like growing your own food or growing your own pigs or growing your own tomatoes or something like that. It's more cost effective to go to the store and buy this stuff. But when you think of the benefits, when you think of what the benefits that you're actually getting from growing your own food, it far outweighs going to the marketplace. So I mean, why is all this electricity being used on Bitcoin? And that is, a lot of it has to do with the security features, and that's is a very point. Very good thing that you don't have to worry about as far as FRNs are concerned.
Right. Well, one thing that I'm curious about, and I know that nobody in the studio tonight has the answer, and I doubt Rudy does either. If someone were to calculate, whatever the computing power is of all of the Bank of America servers and all of the local banks that are allowing you to, do online banking and, all of the computing power behind like the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ.
Yeah, it's probably not too far off. They're probably fueling far in excess of what Bitcoin is actually sucking down.
Right.
I'm
so
going to pop your bubble.
Who's using more energy?
I'm going to pop your bubble. This is a story from one of the CryptoCoinNews.com last year. Bitcoin is 100 times more powerful than Google. So you talk about massive computing power, you've got to think about Google. But when you look at this distributed network of miners all around the world, the estimate, based on how much they mine and how much data we get out of Google, that Google tells us about what they do, Bitcoin's last year was about 100 times the size, computing power-wise, as Google. I think it's pretty impressive.
That's very impressive.
That's a lot of electricity. So this guy's invention in England, hopefully it works.
I hope so, because what that will mean is if he's come up with some way of mining Bitcoin that uses half the electricity or something like that, that's huge.
1/10.
1/10.
1/10.
Well, I'm going to have to Google this and find out more about it. And thank you so much for that tip.
Cool.
But that's really interesting.
Later.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Rudy. Yeah. So that, that's a way to possibly get rid of another type of waste that we had not even thought about or, brought up here.
We haven't even got around to the political process.
Yeah.
Getting rid of them?
Speaking of waste, right?
Yeah.
All you need is tar and feathers, Chris. And
No,
those
that's
are
a
cheap.
waste of good feathers that could wind up.
Look, I got a whole.
For
I have a
something.
whole yard full of them. I can collect them up and get
Feather
you a
boas.
couple of bags. The tar is going to be a little harder. We'll have to melt down some tires, and that's illegal.
You need a railroad rail.
And a railroad rail. And we need a railroad too to put them on to roll them out.
No.
Okay.
Run them out of town on a rail.
Yeah, especially considering that I'm running for office as we speak, and I might be one of those guys getting run out of Keene.
So let's get back into this article about the new kind of grocery store to eliminate a certain kind of waste. There's a store opening up in Brooklyn called The Fillery, where shoppers will be able to pick up pasta in bulk, as much as they need, or as little, olives, chewable toothpaste, and various other things. We'll get back into this as well as your calls and thoughts. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Are you worried about how dangerous the world has become? In these days of terrorist attacks, natural disasters, or even a future collapse, you need to be medically prepared to keep your family safe. I'm Joe Alton, MD of store.doomandbloom.net, where you'll find an entire line of uniquely designed medical kits and supplies for when help is not on the way. For everything from individual first aid kits to the ultimate family medical bag, go to store.doomandbloom.net today. That's store.doomandbloom.net. You'll be glad you did.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
Jesus Christ visited every tribe in America.
In America?
She's America, absolutely. There's a book that came out.
He got around, didn't he?
He was in India.
How did he
China.
get from point A to point B?
He had quite a life.
In a boat.
So they took a boat from the Middle East all the way over to North America?
Absolutely. Archaeologists went and visited different tribes and followed their myths and stuff. And none of them used the name Jesus, but they all described him as a white man with long brown hair and a beard.
Why is it that Jesus is white? That's
how
what I
did
want to understand.
How did a white guy get born to a bunch of Sephardic Jews, is what I want to know.
No.
Well, God's white, so I mean, that's how.
Of course he is.
Was the Immaculate Conception. He could make that baby whatever color he wanted to.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
If you want to move to the Free State and you're looking for some real estate.
Oof, I think we've all had enough of that jingle, don't you? If you're going to invest in property in New Hampshire, it just makes sense to support a Liberty-friendly realtor. Call Mark Warden of Team Porcupine Real Estate for investment property or rentals in the Free State, or visit his website. Come on, you know it.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Do you want to reach people with the ideas of liberty? Well, how about doing it from the back of your car with libertystickers.com? You can reach thousands of people with a bumper sticker, and you know people love to read those things. Check out the vast selection of witty, poignant, pithy, and downright bombastic liberty-oriented messages at libertystickers.com. That's libertystickers.com. And they have some amazing deals to where if you buy, I believe it's 100 bumper stickers, and it doesn't have to be 100 of the same design. It can be mix and match. But you buy over 100, and they're as low as 99 cents a piece. libertystickers.com. We're talking about waste, specifically food waste, as well as packaging waste. And, well, there's a new kind of new kind of grocer coming to the United States. And, well, my laptop decided to go ahead and freeze on me, so we will not finish this article. But, Chris, you had an article about the various ways that Americans are wasting food. And I think that some of what was touched on in this article about the grocer will be covered in the article that you have. And just to recap, the grocer, what they're doing is it's called a zero waste grocer, and they're popping up as basically, like standalone stores. So it's not a chain yet, but you would go in with your own refillable container. So you have like your little Tupperware dish.
Yeah.
And you're like, I need a cup and a half of flour, and I need this much sugar and this much honey and this much of this, and you get exactly how much you need. And then when you go back in 3 days later, you take your containers in and you refill. And, it's kind of what Conan was saying he does when he goes grocery shopping. He'll, grab the empty box from Aldi and fill it up with stuff, and goes in 2 days later and does the same thing. Only this would be instead of, nope, you have to buy 5 pounds of sugar because it's the only size package we have. Well, I only need a cup. Doesn't matter. You have to buy 5 pounds. And then, a month later, your sugar's outdated, and now you got to throw it away.
All right, first of all, you can buy a pound bag of sugar everywhere.
Right.
$1.69 at Aldi's.
Not that you're checking prices.
I do check prices because I use a lot of sugar in certain drink.
Certain thing you do.
But what was the other thing you said about? Oh yeah, and sugar doesn't go bad.
Well,
unless your house is like 100% humidity and it's like all sticking together and you're turning into a block.
Right. Now brown sugar is another story. Brown sugar, it seems like to me that stuff hardens up on me as I take it out of the car. And then,
if you don't seal the flour properly, that and flour does go bad.
Yeah, and you can get bugs in it and stuff like that.
I see baking soda getting bad. Oh, not baking soda, but baking powder getting bad. But flour, but the weevils is a thing. They get in your flour, and that's over.
I think we're falling into the trap of bad examples. But there are a lot of things that I don't go through enough of to feel like I want to buy a whole lot of. And to me, I said it before, it's cream of tartar or whatever I need for a particular recipe. Not that I cook that much, but sometimes you do need those little things, and you end up buying a $5 can that's an inch and a half high.
But here's my question. All right, so you bring in your own container.
But how do they weigh it?
I know exactly.
Yeah.
So what if you're going for some olive oil or something? You bring your favorite olive oil bottle in. Maybe it's a real heavy glass. So you're actually but compared to maybe a little lighter. So you're actually going to lose out if you're going to be weighing it. Is someone going to be sitting?
Dude.
Is someone going to be standing next to the spigot and actually monitoring you so you don't make a mess?
Do you weigh your container first and then you dispense?
Well, most of the time, they have ways that you can zero out. So you put your thing on the
zero it out yourself,
and then you hit the 0 button so that it then says this container weighs 0, and then whatever you put in.
I think it's a tare button, Tare.
I don't know.
You are correct.
Yes, tare weight.
All
right, that makes sense. But I mean, what about people who are this is kind of like the self-registers, where you've got to have somebody monitoring all these knuckleheads. You get a lot of people through, but you got to have someone there. Are they going to need someone that's standing around making sure that people are not spilling olive oil over the floors?
I would guess it will be a little customer service intensive, because you will need to help people with that and clean up messes.
But aren't they opening a in Europe the service free convenience stores? We just go in there and you.
Well, yeah, for prepackaged stuff that model works fine. But I'm saying, and I'm not down on this idea at all. I think it's kind of cool. I don't know if I'd do a lot of shopping there because I'm not like a Whole Foods type shopper. But some people will, and if there's a market, it's going to succeed. If not, we will look back on this story fondly.
These things seem to be, like very small neighborhood-oriented sort of thing. So it's probably something to where, it's not going to be a lot bigger than the LRN studio here, and you're going to have, like one person that works there, and that's the person that also owns the place.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just thinking of this, and I'm inserting it into reality. I'm trying to see it flow.
Yeah.
And the way I'm understanding this, you're not going to have some big, huge, giant stock room because you're not having a bunch of packaged stuff. You're going to have stuff that when it comes in, you refill your little containers.
So here's a question.
You're still going to need a room to hold your big container of flour.
No. I want to know how far they're taking this. So they've promised to sell like package free. Mm-hmm. Are they going to buy package free? So are they going to take their 5-gallon bucket down to get?
They have
something. Hold on, Conan. That was something that was in the article to where they said that they're working with vendors to be able to get the stuff package free as well.
All right, that's commitment.
The flour truck comes every Tuesday. It's just a big tanker, and they fill up the flour container.
Yeah, white powder on the streets of New York. We'll be hearing about that.
That'll work.
Oh, boy.
So let's get into the other ways that people waste food.
Right, and this article comes to us from Gizmodo, and the title is The Increasingly... excuse me. Man, I'm bad today. The incredibly wrong reason Americans waste so much food. The United States wastes over 140 trillion calories of perfectly good food every year, and I think we've all heard statistics like that. A national survey just provided a comprehensive overview of the reasons we waste so much, and one of the most common ones is based on a total misconception. Researchers at Ohio State University wrapped up a survey about why Americans are wasting so much food and published it today on PLOS One, PLOS1. Some of the reasons were no surprise. Most people ran out of time, bought a little too much in bulk, or simply thought that those apples had been sitting a couple days, no longer looked quite so crisp. But there were also
Hold on. You're saying that people will throw out an apple that has sat on their shelf for like 3 days?
If it doesn't look as good as it did, I guess people do.
That thing still tastes good.
Well,
you throw it in a smoothie, and you're not going to be able to tell that it's a little brown.
Maybe you don't want it for a smoothie. Maybe you want a nice crisp apple to munch on.
Exactly. And if it starts to look a little funky, what happens in our house is once things start to look just a hair funky, then nobody will eat it right away, and then the next day, funkiness factor goes up.
When you say funky, are you talking about like mold growing on the side of it?
In the case of an apple, just some spots and stuff like that.
Spotty. I tell you what, Chris, you get spotty apples, bring them to me.
I will do that.
No, you bring them to me. I got more mouths to feed than he does.
And the big bidding begins now. I'm going to continue on with this article before you two
fight each other.
Distract me again. Yeah, the fighting here. My God. All right. Let's see. Where was I at? But there was also one pretty alarming reason. The majority of people, over 68%, were throwing away food under the mistaken assumption that once the expiration date had passed, eating these foods was likely to cause food poisoning.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And this one drives me nuts, and
so,
I'm glad
hold
they're
on.
pointing this out.
This brings up some questions about how long after the expiration date can you eat something. So, like, if the expiration date was 2012, is it still good today? 855-450 free. This is Free Talk Live.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Dangerous blood clot device alert. If you or a loved one had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to your heart or lungs and suffered an injury, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, and even death. These dangerous blood clot devices can break, and the metal fragments can travel to your heart or lungs, causing serious injuries. If you or a loved one suffered organ damage or other injuries from an IVC filter, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Is spreading the message of liberty and peace around the globe worth 15 cents per day to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. Last year, we did a fundraiser that successfully covered the costs of continuing our African channel. This year, we're hoping to raise enough to fund a new satellite signal that will cover Europe, North Africa, and much of the Middle East. You can donate as much or as little as you like via the Indiegogo campaign at fund.lrn.fm. And there are perks available like sitting in on your favorite LRN.FM show, exclusive shiny badges, or even naming a satellite channel. Please contribute now at fund.lrn.fm and help us continue our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. The fundraiser ends August 19th, so please visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. That's fund.lrn.fm.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450 free. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking about waste, not just food waste, but also packaging waste, electricity waste, various other kinds of waste of various resources. In studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
And Chris, you were in the midst of an article about a shocking reason why, and probably a wrong reason why, many Americans waste food. And you touched on some of the obvious things of it has become moldy, or some of the things that my banana now has brown spots, or my apple looks a little bruised.
Right. Or you bought too much of it and it's been sitting around forever and you just pitch it. All kinds of things.
Part of the it's been sitting around for a long time feeds into
the real reason,
which is
68% of the time, 68% of the people were throwing away food simply because it had passed the expiration date. And this to me is why do you think we have expiration dates on food?
It's to give you an idea, but yes, it's been mandated from above. But
when you say above, you're not talking about God or
but now when I sell eggs to someone, I'll typically put a creation date on them. This is a lay date to give people an idea how long they have to consume them.
Sure.
Hold on, I have no clue how long an egg is good after it has been laid.
Well, some of the responsibility.
It depends on how you store it.
Right, and whether it's been washed or not.
Correct. If you do not wash your egg and you keep it at a good temperature, a good room temperature, you can sit it on your table in your kitchen for about 2 months.
Yep.
Okay.
If you
what if you put it in the refrigerator?
Here's the big thing.
Same. It's about the same thing. But if you wash it, you start washing out that protective bacteria, and then it goes to hell.
Yep. But I think that's exactly right. The government starts out mandating that we must have expiration dates on food, and there was a big thing early on in the progressive era where the formation of the FDA. I don't have all my facts right in front of me, but I'm going to dig into this when I get home tonight. But this was one of those things that was started during Roosevelt or Wilson, how we needed to be protected from the hazards of food. And I think this came about in part from what was the Steinbeck book about the meat packing?
The Jungle.
The Jungle. And did we have the Grapes of Wrath? Did that discuss farming in that too? I think there was. It was probably just due to, and the Jungle, was that Upton Sinclair?
Yes.
Okay, my bad. But I think after that was one of those reactionary things the government does. Oh my God, there's a problem with our meat. There's a problem with our food. Quick, form a whole federal bureaucracy to handle this. So now we end up with expiration dates, and they are pretty much meaningless. You see an expiration date on a jug of milk. What does that mean? And why, depending on the packaging of that milk, I'm sure it makes some people wonder. Sometimes if I order buy a gallon of milk in a plastic jug, it's got a week and a half on it or something like that. But sometimes I'll buy like the quart cardboard size that's got like the little screw thingy on it, and it's like a month before it expires.
Yeah, a lot of those dates are not expiration dates; they're sell-by dates.
And you'll see that on there too, yeah.
Right, I've noticed some stuff will say sell-by. I've also seen stuff that will have a sell-by date and a best if used by.
Yeah, milk you've got to be careful with, but you know what? Just smell your milk, man.
Exactly.
Before you drink it. And because
hold on, milk is disgusting.
You can drink it right up to,
should not be consumed by humans.
You need milk in your life because you got to worry about your bones and stuff, Mr. Losing all kinds of weight and exercise.
Yeah.
You need your calcium.
So I'm going to get back into this article because it touches on some of these things. Foodborne illnesses aren't spread by old food. They're spread by contaminated food. And food can be contaminated no matter how fresh it is. But underlying that misconception is an even more insidious one. Expiration dates don't actually tell you whether your food has spoiled or not. Expiration dates are not scientific calculations. They're estimates designed more for the use of grocery store stocking decisions than determining whether your food is still good or not. The only food actually required by federal law to have a real expiration date when it shouldn't be consumed after is baby formula. For all other foods, government regulators are perfectly chill with selling and eating food past its expiration date.
And expiration dates apply not only to food, but there are some states that require if something is sold with batteries, that it has to have an expiration date.
Well, that makes sense. Have you ever opened up a Walkman or that's had batteries in it for 3 years? And they've become a part of it.
Yes, you get that.
And I know this.
Or a flashlight.
I know this only because a couple of years ago there was a listener to Free Talk Live, listener who's a truck driver, had a package of personal massagers. That he was unable to deliver because the state that they were supposed to be delivered in was one of these states that required that they have an expiration date put on them. And the company was like, we're not having you ship these back so we can stamp an expiration date on them. Just get rid of them.
So roadside stand?
And no, like this guy came up and he gave us some personal massagers and was like, give these away.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm going to get back in the article. In fact, the FDA tacitly acknowledges that expiration dates have little to do with whether they will or won't consider a food safe. A principle of U.S. food law is that foods in U.S. commerce must be wholesome and fit for consumption, notes the agency. A best by, use by, or expiration date does not relieve a firm from this obligation. So basically the government is saying you have an obligation to give consumers some information that they can make their own decision about whether to eat something or not.
Mm-hmm.
I say we don't need a federal agency to tell us that, and I'd like to know what their budget is.
Let the consumer ask for what he wants, whether it be the ingredients, or whether it be what is this Monsanto Frankenfish,
cheese, Frankencorn,
or what the expiration date is. And this is all, and the expiration date thing makes sense, because guess what's going to happen if your bread doesn't have an expiration date or a creation date on it? People aren't going to buy it. It's going to sit there, so it makes sense to the seller.
Right. But that's now because we're all conditioned to look for it, and I believe me, I love my girlfriend to death, but I hate grocery shopping with her because she will spend 5 minutes
looking for the earliest date,
looking for that magical package of bread that will not expire until the rapture comes.
That's when you go over to the magazine counter, Chris, and you get yourself a PC Now or whatever computer magazine is out there.
Man, I hear you.
By the way, we're talking about forcing, making laws because they've read a book,
right?
And the first thing that came to mind for me was the DDT and the book Silent
Spring. Yep.
Very, very similar. Lawmakers and people just, oh my God, we're all going to die.
And well, one of the things that I remember hearing in like middle school about DDT, the pesticide, not the
wrestler, yeah.
No, DDT is not a wrestler. You're thinking DDP. DDT was
I don't know these guys'
move.
name. I thought you were going there. So it is a move.
But
yes, it's the eagle's beaks were falling off.
No, it wasn't the eagle's beaks were falling off. It was that the shells were too thin. But that had something to do with like a calcium deficiency in a certain area that had nothing to do with the DDT. But because the U.S. government banned DDT and banned, like some form of trade or aid or something to any country that used it, well, now there's the problems with mosquitoes in sub-Saharan Africa and an increase in malaria.
Yep.
So because the U.S. government banned DDT, it then indirectly banned DDT in the rest of the world, and malaria has increased drastically.
And considering
federal government.
And considering when all this came out, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little global population control that was behind the banning of DDT.
Well,
because that was a big issue, especially in the 70s, where everyone was afraid that we were going to run out of land in the next 10 years. And hey, you know what? Malaria kills people.
I'm going to get a little Conan here for just a moment, if you don't mind me getting a little conspiracy theory oriented. But back before climate change was the big boogeyman that was going to destroy the Earth.
Global cooling.
Ozone layer.
I'm going to refer to a document, and that is the report from Iron Mountain. Any of you guys ever hear of this one? Okay.
Sounds like a comic book.
The report from Iron Mountain, I think maybe this will deserve a little bit of talk, but we're going to talk about global warming, climate change, and we will see how that relates to
the
DDT.
report from Iron Mountain and possibly the escape from Witch Mountain, and your calls and thoughts. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Plus, we're on Skype. Username is LRN.FM. This is Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Adam Kokesh has agreed to meet Bernie Sanders in any city in America on any day between now and the end of the year for a friendly debate on socialism versus voluntarism, in which Bernie can choose an objective moderator. To sweeten the deal, Roger Ver, a.k.a. Bitcoin Jesus, has offered that upon completion of a 3-hour debate in which both men have equal time, he will donate a total of $100,000 worth of Bitcoin to the charity of each man's choice, $50,000 apiece. Learn more at bernie.freetalklive.com.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at survivormax.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, July 21st, 2016. Silver is trading at $19.41 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,320 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $667. Antiwar.com reports while the early accounts of the Taliban launching a new offensive in northern Afghanistan's Kunduz province earlier this week were very unclear about what was happening, the fighting has continued for several days and the Taliban's gains have mounted. Now officials are saying that the Taliban controls 65 to 70% of the Kala-i-Zal district and that heavy fighting is still ongoing. The Taliban said they control materially the entire province, though they too confirmed that the fighting was not over. The situation is looking grim for Afghan forces in the area, with the local police commander complaining that very little support was being provided from outside of the district. The district police commander downplayed the offensive when it began, claiming that only one soldier was killed and insisted that he was confident the fighting would end in the next few days. This has been a recurring problem for Afghan security forces in resisting Taliban offensives, as the national government has shown little inclination to send support and would rather let the district fall and retake it later in a counterattack. This is in keeping with U.S. pressure on the Afghan government to defend less and attack more, but results in the Taliban gaining more and more territory. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Bitcoin Not Bombs. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system and to fully capitalize on that decision in their fundraising efforts. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. UPI reports Southwest Airlines flights across the country were delayed at least 90 minutes on Wednesday after a computer outage shut down all flights still on the ground. The glitch struck about 2 p.m., leaving the airline without check-in capability or flight status for hundreds of flights. The problems were fixed around 3:30 p.m. According to FlightStats.com, almost 600 Southwest Airlines flights were still delayed at 5:30 p.m. Customers trying to buy tickets or check in on the airline's website were greeted with a message that the site was down. Reportedly, the site was up and running again around 5 p.m. Southwest told Twitter and Facebook followers it would refund customers who were forced to change their travel plans. Some travelers were able to joke about the delays, with one person on Twitter posting, "2 free rounds of adult drinks on my flight home will make it better." For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports Cleveland police arrested 17 protesters on Wednesday after scuffling with demonstrators who tried to set an American flag on fire near the crowded entrance to an arena where Republicans made Donald Trump their presidential nominee. 2 of those arrested were charged with felonious assault on an officer after officers tried to confiscate the flag. Cleveland Police Chief Calvin Williams told reporters some of the protesters' pants caught fire in the incident. Williams, who was at the protest, said, "Whatever they tried to do with the flag, as we were trying to extinguish it and they were trying to keep it away, their pant leg caught on fire," adding the charge was assault on an officer because the officer tried to put it out when he saw it getting burned, and there were also counter demonstrators who were trying to take it away. The other 15 people arrested were charged with a misdemeanor offense of inciting violence near the crowded Quicken Loans Arena. Burning the American flag is protected by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, which supposedly protects the right to free speech. None of the protesters were charged for burning the flag. 2 police officers were injured during the scuffle, according to Williams, and sustained what he described as minor bumps and bruises. Wednesday's incident saw the largest number of arrests during the 4-day convention, which ends on Thursday, and brought the total number of arrested to 22, according to Williams. Previously, 5 people had been arrested in 3 different incidents. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Following reports earlier today that Indiana University freshman Lawrence Plotnick's roommate Brian Tabor has found an excuse to go home every weekend since August, Plotnick spoke to Onion reporters about his roommate's frequent trips to his nearby hometown of Terre Haute, Indiana.
Every week since we got here, it seems like every time I ask him if he wants to hang out on Friday, he has some wedding or birthday party or something. In fact, I'm pretty sure he hasn't spent a single Friday or Saturday night on campus in the past 6 months.
Plotnick went on to cite a variety of far-ranging excuses used by his roommate to justify his constant visits home, including various family functions, a visiting friend from China, as well as his occasional desire to, quote, just hang out at home for a couple of days.
I mean, I suppose I vaguely understood when he had to go back in November because his best friend's grandfather died, but last weekend he had to go back for his aunt and uncle's wedding anniversary. He said he couldn't miss it.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. Kicking off hour number 2 in studio tonight is Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
And you can call in with your thoughts about whatever is on your mind. We're talking about the unusual reasons and possibly the wrong reasons that Americans waste so much food. Chris, you have that article that we will jump back into, but you had sort of diverted in the last segment of the first hour to talk about something Iron Mountain.
Yeah, he said he was going to go full Conan on this one.
I was going full Conan, but where this started was we brought up DDT and how DDT was banned by the U.S. government, and then
but not the WWE.
No, but the banning of DDT was then tied to U.S. foreign aid to other countries.
Yes.
So the result of us banning DDT was for particularly sub-Saharan Africa to not to enact their own DDT bans and stop using it. The problem was DDT was and arguably still is the most effective tool man has ever developed against malaria. And the numbers
and now,
of people
in Zika.
Well, actually, Zika too. But
hold on, there's a Zika too? Is that even worse than regular Zika? That's not even transmissible between humans in the normal way?
Stop you all right.
It's coming next year.
I'm going to stop you all right there because Zika pales in comparison to what malaria has done around the globe. And estimates by the World Health Organization and others put the estimated number of deaths due to the DDT ban somewhere between 200 million and 800 million people globally.
And that's
I knew it was hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
This was such a devastating thing, and it was all done. If you go back and you look for the root cause in this case was the book Silent Spring. And I don't remember the author's name, but it was a big book in the environmental movement in the early 60s that talked about how there would be a day when we would no longer hear the birds because DDT softened the shells and
Rachel
Carson. Thank you very much. But yeah, that was it. So we segued from that into me bringing up the report from Iron Mountain. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, here's where I go full Conan. This book came out, I think, in the early 60s, like 63 or something like that. And it was passed off as an official report produced by the U.S. by this group of 15 people.
According to Wikipedia, it came out in 1967.
Thank you. And I'm just pulling that up just because it'll have some quick facts, and I know a little bit about it, so I'll try to keep this as accurate as I can. But it was put out there, and it was basically the premise was we are always experiencing great economic growth when we're at war. So how do we maintain being at war when that's not practical anymore? So the book really discussed what are some things that we can do, what sort of psyops can we purport against the American people to convince them that, you have to almost buy war bonds, you have to support what your government is doing. And they talked about a lot of different possibilities, like, okay, well, we could have little proxy wars around the government or around the globe that we could fund one side, the Russians will fund the other. We can keep it going that way, but that's messy and we end up losing American lives. People get tired of that. They, in the book, I believe they debated whether they could fake an alien invasion, whether we would...
Blue beam.
Yeah, whether we would have alien invaders that would unite the globe and bring us under one world order, a new world order that could fight this existential threat from outer space. So on and so on. But one of the things that they brought up was, well, how about environmental issues? How about the massive pollution of the earth? Because that's something people can actually see. And this is something that we can get millions and billions of dollars behind to fight, and people who would not want to save the earth. And it was kind of interesting because it really was kind of before the environmental movement really took off full steam in the 70s. Yep. So I thought that was pretty interesting. There's a lot
It sounds to me like this might be a different form of yellow journalism.
Well, that's where it gets a little weird because so there were a couple people that said that, yeah, I am familiar with that. I was part of that team, and these were people in the government. And then they had people coming out immediately afterwards that said, this is complete BS. No such thing ever existed. And it's out there. It doesn't sound credible to me. I don't believe that this was actually anything other than a work of satire.
Right, but what I'm saying is this book, as well as the book about no more birds that wound up causing DDT to be banned, while yellow journalism technically was publishing stuff in newspapers,
right?
This seems to be a slightly different variant to where they were publishing it in books that were more widespread than newspapers.
Right. So from a conspiracy point of view, it's not hard to imagine that there being some nudge behind this.
Well, considering that there has just been this overwhelming push to fix our global issues, our global environmental issues, since forever, since before I was born.
Oh yeah.
And every year, every decade, it's something different. It's like, when did we get to the bottom of this?
But that's the whole thing. It's kind of ceased being the environmental issue, and it's since become the climate change issue, which I think is interesting.
Right, and we have a caller, I
government to solve the problems. And here's a question for Sarah. Will the aliens that do come and invade the planet to cause us to unite in this Independence Day sort of thing, will the aliens run the red light cameras in their spaceships? Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
I know that kind of. Okay, well, you know what? You caught me kind of off guard here.
I know you always call in about either pedestrians getting run over or red light cameras, and I'm just curious.
Do aliens even need red light cameras, or is it all like internal and they're all beaming it to each other?
The red light cameras already exist, and they're all over Albuquerque, or they used to be. Will the aliens run through those intersections when they do invade Earth?
They're flying well above them.
I'm going to make a prediction that tonight Sarah has called in about something other than red light cameras or pedestrian injuries. I am going to be right. Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, actually, you're wrong because...
Dang. Oh. I thought I had it.
Go ahead, Sarah.
What I wanted to mention was that, red light camera invading New Mexico. Well, it's kind of true, but the thing is that our surrounding states, Texas, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah, they all have red light cameras. And, and finally rubbing off into New Mexico. I mean, it took a long while, but when you're surrounded by red light camera states, it's inevitable that we'll have them too, and we are having them. So I don't know what that has to do with aliens.
But we're surrounded up here in New Hampshire, I think, by red light camera states, aren't we not?
We are, and we don't have red light cameras in New Hampshire.
We must.
Really, that's really amazing. Isn't that more New Hampshire?
Well, we also have these wonderful things called roundabouts, to where there's no stoplight at all, and instead of it being like this four-way thing, it's a big circle, so you don't have to come to a full stop. You just merge into traffic, and then you flow through the intersection a lot smoother, and there's a lot fewer accidents, and it's absolutely amazing.
Are wonderful.
And pedestrians don't get hit by cars. Sarah, thank you for the call.
I drive a lot of people around these days. Almost. It's a bit of
You're a chauffeur.
It's a taxi. It's a taxi job, and so we'll drive through a roundabout, and the conversation will just appear, and I'll say something like, "Man, I love these roundabouts," and my passenger will be like, "No kidding, I love them too." And so I would say 95% of the people I've talked to, they're all super in agreement with the whole roundabout, the efficiency, the how fluent they are. Yesterday, or the day before, I drove a little lady, and I began the conversation with, "Man, I love these roundabouts," and she freaked out. She's like, "I can't stand these things. Every time I get in them, I'm afraid I'm going to hit somebody, if I'm going to have a wreck." Key to know before you start driving people around is why you're driving them around. She just had a wreck.
Nice.
In a roundabout.
So she's probably scared of cars. This is Free Talk Live.
So when we brought him home, we didn't realize that Bear, the rescue dog, was actually sick. He had very flaky skin. He was dropping a lot of fur, and the vet wanted to do steroid injections, special dog food. Nothing seemed to work. So I've been hearing Dinovite on the radio for years.
DINOVITE.com.
859-428-1000.
It never actually crossed my mind to try it until I was just at a dead end. And then it finally sunk in. Oh, you're talking about hair and skin. And all right, I'll try it. Well, it took probably 6 weeks, but after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch, and he started to put weight on. It was awesome. He makes us feel like we saved him. Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days. I wish that we would have started the Dinovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out! That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-618-WAVE, 888-618-WAVE, or visit mydryhome.com, mydryhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
Arcade City is a ride-sharing app built by drivers, not a mega corporation. As a driver with Arcade City, you can keep all of what you earn. Sign up now to drive for or ride with Arcade City at arcade.freetalklive.com. Arcade City is connecting drivers directly with riders and has been making headlines for disrupting the ride-sharing industry. Sign up now at arcade.freetalklive.com. That's arcade.freetalklive.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855 450 free. We're talking about waste, the various ways that people waste food, people waste containers, and, well, some people wind up wasting storage and data. Well, there's one way that you can actually save yourself some data, and that would be using the LRN Audio On Demand Listen Line. You can now listen to your favorite shows on the Liberty Radio Network, the live shows, when you want to. There's nothing to download, no smartphone required. Just call 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. The live shows from the Liberty Radio Network, that would be Free Talk Live, Declare Your Independence, Freedom Fiends, Angel Clark Show, Rebel Love Show, Cop Block Radio, Flaming Freedom, The No State Project, Off the Air Live, and The Call to Freedom. Those are all streaming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can listen to them when you want to listen to them. It doesn't matter when they're live on LRN. You can listen on your schedule. And again, no smartphone required, no app required. There's no downloading at all. It's a listen line. So if you still have a long distance plan, check your plan. But most everybody has, unlimited long distance, or there's no long distance at all, depending on whatever your call plan is. So again, just check that for long distance rates if they apply, but I don't think they do with anyone. Again, 641-793-9660. Let's get back into the article, Chris, that you started about the real reason Americans are wasting food. And you said that 68% of food waste is for this reason alone?
Expiration dates. That's it. And there really wasn't much left to the article. The bottom line in this is, and the last paragraph is, so how can you really tell if your food is spoiled? It's pretty simple, and it all has almost nothing to do with the date on the package. Instead, you simply go by the food's look, smell, feel, and if it comes to it, taste. Believe me, the signs of spoiling food are not easy to miss, even if you weren't looking for them. So, yeah, that's it in a nutshell. And I think it's one of those things where too many of us, because daddy government hops up and says, okay, we're going to require, all food producers to meet this and to meet that. Number one, we make the assumption that if something is sold and it's in official packaging and it looks like it has some government approval things on it,
it must be safe.
It must be safe. And then we get to the point where we don't even do what people did 100 years ago, which was open up a can or whatever it happened to be.
Or when they break an egg, you break it into a separate container.
Right.
Or you let it float first in a container, some water to see if it
we
floats.
don't do basic things to make sure that the things that we put into our bodies are safe. And
well, I know there's something about you knock on a watermelon, and if it sounds hollow, then it's either good or not good. I forget, but
I know if it knocks back, then you've got an issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's that, and then, if you pick up a cucumber and it's squishy, then it's no good. If your cilantro is liquefied, it's been in the fridge too long.
That's when you just stir it up some more, though.
Yeah. Then it goes into the guacamole. There's all kinds of things, but those are basic food safety things. And I guess my point is that, when government steps in to help us, sometimes it actually hurts us.
And the last section, we were actually talking about roundabouts.
Yeah.
And the lady I was telling a story of a lady I was driving, and for like the first time in forever, she was terrified of them. And she wanted more signage, more crosswalks. She wanted more stop signs in order to protect us. And I was trying to tell her, look, lady, the more of these you put up, the more of these safety precautions that you install all around town, the less safe you make actual pedestrians and drivers, because they begin to a false sense of security grows in them. And so when they get to a four-way and it says green, they don't look around. They just go straight through it, and then that's when they get killed. But if they actually approached a four-way and they are actually looking around, some guy who wasn't able to put his brakes on, or who was sliding on snow,
right?
They would actually see that person, and the accident wouldn't happen.
Yeah, there have been cities in Europe where they got rid of all traffic signs.
Exactly,
and safety increased. People were driving at a slower rate. Fewer pedestrians got hit. There were fewer accidents. And it was just overall a better environment.
Yeah, it's called shared space system.
Right, and that's because you're basically non-aggressively forcing people to pay attention to what's going on. You're not luring them into this false sense of security.
But as in the case of this little lady that I was driving around, I think that she would be terrified in that situation. Every time she left her house, she would just be constantly terrified.
She sounds terrified now.
She would be more terrified if there was no safety procedures set up for her benefit. And guess who's voting for these things, Darryl? Yeah. Guess who's becoming legislators and going to Concord and setting these new laws
Not this
up.
little old lady. She's scared to get on the road to even drive to Concord.
But she's voting for that person. She's voting for those people.
Let's go back to the phones. We've got Mike calling in from Oregon. Mike, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hey, guys. So I wanted to talk about what the topic you guys are discussing right now, waste. And there's actually two things here. The first thing about this whole nonsense about, expiration dates, when I was working at Hannaford Supermarket in Plymouth, New Hampshire, I would go pass by the dairy department and up to the break room, and the manager there was dumping out quarts of milk.
Oh, God.
And, and I was like, well, what are you doing that for? And the eggnog was next, and I love the eggnog.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah. So I was like, well, what are you doing that for? He goes, it's expired. I says,
oh, man.
Oh, well, can't you, like, sell it maybe, like, discount price? He's like, we can't sell it. I says, oh, okay. Well, I understand. I says, well, I'll take a couple quarts. He's like, you can't do that. I says, why not? I says, he's like, well, that's shoplifting.
Yeah.
But wait a minute now. You can't give it to me because it's considered shoplifting. And that really gets me angry. You know, it's like, I'll take the milk. It's perfectly okay.
Hey, Mike, can we get you to turn down your radio in the background just a little bit, or all the way?
I got you on some earbuds. Hold on one second.
Oh, no problem. But that is the case, and that's a case with a lot of retailers, is they are so afraid of getting shut down by the government that they won't allow food to be donated to charity.
And the funny thing is, I keep hearing people say, oh, we're afraid that we're going to wind up being sued. I've never actually seen a lawsuit where somebody sued because slightly expired food was given away.
Right.
I've never seen a statute in place saying that you're not allowed to give something away that's slightly expired. And I actually know farmers that wind up getting food that's slightly expired and feeding it to their pigs.
Yeah, this guy.
Like Farmer Conan.
No, but there's another reason why they do this. And this is real. I've actually seen it happen. You'll have some employees who will damage food or leave food in a corner on purpose so that they can get it marked down next week when it actually gets close to expiration date. I've seen it doesn't happen a lot, but I would be more fearful of liability.
Hold the line, Mike. We'll bring it back. This is Free Talk Live, 855-450 free.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Worried about lead, fluoride, and other contaminants in your drinking water? Get a ProPure with the Pro 1G 2.0 cleanable reusable filter and remove up to 200 contaminants. Drink water the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. See the complete line of ProPure products, including the new ProMax shower filter. There's a ProPure for you. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking food waste and the various ways that people waste food, the food packaging waste that occurs, and I've got more from that article that we started the show on. And, of course, your calls and thoughts to 855-450-FREE. We go back to the phones. We've got Mike from Oregon. Mike, you're back on Free Talk Live. Continue with your thoughts.
Thanks. So, yeah, I just think, with all this food waste, I just think if, Conan, you were making a good point during the last segment, about how, the government has got their suggested, date on there of expiration or whatever. I think if the government got out of that kind of regulation, definitely, you could have a grocery store say, look, we don't want to sell it past the expiration date because that's what we decide, and maybe we can kind of have a relationship with some sort of like a charitable organization where we give, this food to that's expired after a day or so in the milk, and maybe that charitable organization could actually feed some people who are actually really, really hungry out in the street.
I know there are two. There's a big supermarket here in Keene, and also Panera Bread.
Yep.
Every morning they donate their expired bread, and when I say expired, I mean it's a day old mostly, and they expire it. They give it to Salvation Army and to I think to the soup shelter.
There is also
community kitchen. Excuse me.
Soup kitchen. Yeah.
Yep. And there's one north of here, a big food shelf that gets a lot of Panera Bread and a lot of Market Basket stuff.
But I mean, there's enough. But when you think of like bent cans and produce that maybe has a little bruise on it. Now, when I was growing up in the mid '80s, early '90s, this was something that I was familiar with because my family and I would go straight to that location, straight to that corner, because I mean, hey, if you're making guacamole, you don't want the super hard avocados. You want the ones that have been
nice and soft,
that have been bullied a little bit.
You betcha.
I mean, and they'd be a quarter of the price. And then I don't know when it happened, but that corner of the supermarkets disappeared.
Well,
I don't know what happened, but every store. It wasn't just Food Line. It was all of them.
I think it's the entire supply chain. So I read an interesting story, and I didn't bring it in tonight, but I'll dig it up and I'll shoot it around to you guys. But it's this the waste of food sort of starts at the farm, if you can imagine, because if I do a big crop of apples in my orchard, the ones that are actually supermarket worthy or Whole Foods worthy or anything like that, what do they look like? They are bright and shiny. They are perfect. They are without blemish. They are grade A.
And if you've ever picked apples, you know that is not the case. That is not all the apples on your tree. You're gonna get ones with little dimples on them.
Little dimples. They got a little lump here, a lump there, and things like that. So that is, a big part of that stuff. And most of that stuff ends up being feed for animals.
Yeah.
If it's going to go somewhere, that's where it's going to go. And I meant to ask you, Mike, what part of Oregon are you from?
I live in Clackamas.
Clackamas.
Yep, right outside of It's a suburb of Portland.
I do know Clackamas Town Center very well. I know 82nd Avenue very well.
Yep.
And
we're right up the street from Clackamas Town Center.
And I remember somebody named Harding with a really good swing. No, that was her boyfriend, wasn't it?
So back to finish my point. So when I was a young man, there was always a reduced section of the store, and then they disappeared. And I was extremely upset, especially when I'm moving out on my own and doing my own thing. And these things don't exist anymore. Good news is I'm starting to see them come back.
Yeah.
Market Basket has 2 sections, and I'm very happy. And those are the first places I go. They have a produce section, and they have the bent can section.
Do you also go to the expired food store just about 10 miles up the road that has stuff that expired 5 years ago?
5 years ago? No, but I do.
That bad.
But I do go to the local bread store and I get expired bread from them, and that's what goes to the chickens.
And we do buy. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike.
Well, no, it's okay. I was just going to say one other thing. I'll let you guys go. But one other thing that I noticed about this whole waste thing. This is kind of a different topic, but back in the early '90s, when I started getting the Super Nintendo games, they used to have the small plastic cover that went over the game to protect the inner workings of the game pack.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got Street Fighter II Turbo, I noticed that it didn't come with that. So I called Nintendo up in Redmond, Washington, and I asked them about this, and they said, well, they're clogging up the landfill. And that's when I started noticing that this whole, recycle nonsense and regulatory, and this was all government, because they said, government, we got to put regulations on this, and guess what? Now I didn't have that plastic sleeve on my, and I actually use them. In fact, I have them on my game packs, and they're right up on the shelf right now. I see them, and they protect the game
pack. The dust out and stuff like that.
I sell a lot of games on Amazon and eBay, and I have a whole stack of nothing but empty sleeves to use for games, because I get more games that are sleeveless, caseless, and so I always need those cases. And to think that there's a whole landfill out there right next to the Atari ET game landfill.
Right.
It's
Mike, thank you.
Probably in the same desert.
The burial place. What was it? Yeah, it was ET. That was the legendary game.
And I've never figured out that might actually be a myth.
Oh, no.
That they made so many of these ET Atari games, and I actually like that game. It's actually real.
Google, they did a great documentary.
So they dug them up and they found them. I remember that.
Yeah,
okay, so it's
very
real.
cool.
And then remember, there used to be, and I never ate this thing because it had all kinds of weird stuff on there that I don't eat, but there was the one sandwich from McDonald's where they had the special packaging. They kept the hot side hot and the cold side cold.
Yes.
And then they had to get rid of that packaging because it wasn't biodegradable or something.
Oh, my God. I remember that. Our new technology, and it's basically 2 different containers separated. Brilliant.
We'll get back into talking about that, but first, your calls. We've got Peter calling in from California listening to KTOX. Peter, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to make a comment about the expiration date. One thing I've noticed on dry packaged foods, for example, I don't know, cake mixes, side dishes, prepackaged side dishes that have a printed expiration date on the package, I found that they don't go bad, but what happens is the food absorbs the flavor of the packaging. So if it's not consumed, in my experience, within about a month or 2, after the expiration date, it's still okay. If you go much past that, the food starts to taste funky.
Like cardboard?
Yes, exactly. It will absorb the flavor of the cardboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a real thing there, which I've, as I said, found in my own experience. So the other thing I'll get off the air. You're talking about meat. What I found at the markets around here is there's a section. Usually on one end or the other of the meat counter, or the merchandisers' coolers where they put the meat out, that's dedicated to meat that is getting ready to expire in 1 or 2 days. So at substantial markdown. So if you can pick those up and take them home post-haste and stick them in your freezer, you're in good shape. You can save sometimes half or more.
Isn't that great?
Of the original cost.
Yeah,
so,
that's
anyway,
amazing.
Just a thought. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks, Peter.
I'm always looking for the market department manager specials.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got to figure. I've actually asked them. I'll go talk to them. Hey, look, guys, when are you going through? When's your guy coming through and actually looking at dates?
How's that filet mignon back there looking?
Because I'm just gonna watch you, and I'm going to walk right behind you, and I'm going to pick up whatever you stamp.
Camped out here for the next week.
So let's jump back into the article that we started the show on about the new kind of grocery store, the zero waste markets. Lindsay Manderson, who's the co-founder of a store in Denver, says that she's trying to work with suppliers because stuff will show up triple wrapped in styrofoam. She says we need to be practicing zero waste as a store, and it's about trying to find that line of when you're not being responsible with the products being delivered. Shop owners say they want to undo the huge amounts of waste that are byproducts of a retail culture that emphasizes customer convenience. It's much easier to grab that plastic bag than to bring a tote with you. There's more on this, and of course, your calls and thoughts. 855-450-FREE. And what happens when the internet gets to name the next sandwich at McDonald's?
Uh-oh.
We'll tell you. This is Free Talk Live.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you? Or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all. Domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom. And with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it. And they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
Adam Kokesh has agreed to meet Bernie Sanders in any city in America on any day between now and the end of the year for a friendly debate on socialism versus voluntarism, in which Bernie can choose an objective moderator. To sweeten the deal, Roger Ver, a.k.a. Bitcoin Jesus, has offered that upon completion of a 3-hour debate in which both men have equal time, he will donate a total of $100,000 worth of Bitcoin to the charity of each man's choice, $50,000 apiece. Learn more at bernie.freetalklive.com.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Injury Help Desk is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisements. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention prescription antibiotic drug users. Have you or a loved one suffered an aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, or abdominal aortic aneurysm after taking the prescription antibiotic drugs Levaquin or Avalox? These popular antibiotic drugs have been prescribed more than 80 million times since 2004, and medical studies show an increased risk of the following injuries: aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, and abdominal aortic aneurysm. If you or a loved one used the prescription antibiotic drugs Levaquin or Avalox and suffered from aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, or abdominal aortic aneurysm, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. You may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Wednesday, gold is $18 lower at $1,317 per ounce. Silver is 40 cents lower at $19.50 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $670 US. Talk of a possible Fed rate hike later this year has silver and gold down sharply, making it a great time to buy on the dip. For more information, give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking about waste. Not just food waste, but also packaging waste. And, well, there's a new type of grocer that is coming at least to parts of the United States, talking specifically about one opening up in Brooklyn and another one opening up in Denver, to where you would bring your own containers. So right now there are stores like Aldi to where you bring your own bags, but these stores are doing things to where you want a cup of flour or a cup of sugar, or you need just a little bit of olive oil. Well, bring in your containers and you'll be able to, take just what you need. And the overhead winds up being cut down because there's no excess packaging that you're having to pay for. The owners of these stores are saying that they're working with suppliers to cut out the excess packaging in what is delivered. But apparently the popularity, this according to Huffington Post, the popularity of food startups is not exactly helping with waste. Take the meal kit delivery service Blue Apron. By sending exactly what you need directly to your front door, the startup, in theory, helps cut down on wasted groceries. But BuzzFeed points out nearly every ingredient comes in its own little pouch, generating an insane amount of packaging waste for just a two-person dinner. Blue Apron contends that all of its packaging is recyclable and biodegradable. But my question is, how many people are recycling everything that they get?
Here's what I want to know, and I have not done any research on it, even though I mentioned earlier about the Keen's plastic ban they tried to throw down our throats.
The thing that did not pass.
Did not pass, and it is very beautiful around here. There's not trash, everywhere, even though they're saying constantly that it's a big issue.
Right.
Plastic waste. Is it really an issue?
We had the one caller call in earlier. He was talking about some valley in Arizona where it's like a 30-mile long valley that's just full of plastic bags.
That's after the windstorm.
After the windstorms.
Now, if the plastic is actually kept down, it's actually put in a container that's not going to allow it to blow everywhere. They're just dumping it out of the truck and then leaving it there and not tilling it in.
But there are some people that will just throw stuff around. Earlier in this article, and I skipped over a good chunk of it, one of these ladies out on the West Coast is talking about the beaches being littered with stuff that gets washed up from the current and just gets washed ashore.
But I mean,
so
it's 2016. This isn't,
right, it's 2016, which means that humans have been around for thousands of years, and they're still idiots and will still throw their trash wherever they happen to be without thinking about what's going to happen to it in 10 minutes or 2 years.
Right. And there is, if the question is what is the result of us using plastic packaging, and is it good or bad?
Versus like paper.
Right.
But
what I think is key is, number one, if it weren't affordable, if it weren't the most economical choice, we wouldn't be using so much of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the number one thing, is that it is economical. Second of all, plastic can be recycled to some degree. Now, in our town, we're actually trying to find this out because we're looking at our transfer station. For those of you who don't live in New Hampshire,
and the
that's
problem
what
with
they call
the problem with these
here.
stupid bags is they get caught in the gears, and they won't let you throw it into the plastic dumps anymore.
Right. Some of that stuff is just going to be garbage, but is number one or number two plastic worth recycling? Is it economically
Probably
feasible?
not.
Right. Like a lot of things are not economically feasible. Is it a bigger problem than that? I mean, one of the things that's always kind of fascinated me is, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
Yes.
It's a floating island of plastic.
Yeah, basically an island of plastic, and there's, I guess, at least one or two of these sort of vortices around the world that have formed from plastic because it doesn't degrade
the ocean
quickly.
currents just happen to wind up crossing paths in a certain area.
And it creates sort of a vortex, and
Right.
garbage and trash gets kind of collected up in those. So I by no means am a radical environmentalist, but I sure like to have a nice, clean planet.
Yes.
And I think the best motivations for doing that are found through capitalism, not through the force of law.
Right, and I think stores like this, to where they're saying, hey, bring in your own containers.
Yeah.
And the problem, and they had acknowledged that this is a problem, getting people, especially in New York, to embrace reusable containers is going to be a challenge, especially since so many people in large cities are accustomed to the single-use lifestyle where everything from the coffee cups to takeout trays can be tossed without a second thought at all. Let's go to the phone. Or Conan, did you have a?
No, I just to continue my thought, because I'm seriously asking. I don't really know if there's an actual problem.
Yes,
I am.
There is actually a problem.
Okay, I've been on my land for 4 years now, and I'm constantly digging up trash from the previous owners. They dumped all their trash in the backyard, so I'm always digging this stuff up. Now, when I dig plastic up, and I'm talking about thick plastic, like plastic pools and pieces of automobiles, this stuff is like powder. I mean, it is broken down to such a degree that it doesn't really. I pull it out in pieces.
Right.
And I'm just in plastic bags. I mean, if you were to bury a plastic bag in your backyard and dug it up a year from now, I'm going to tell you that there's not going to be much left. And so I don't really know.
I won't profess to know anything about those. You know, I just don't know the science behind it, and I don't know how they break down.
Now it's different. It's different
know.
if it's in the ocean and it's like it's actually forming an island that's preventing sunlight from getting a foot down because of the thickness of it.
Estimated on the low side to be the size of Texas.
Wow.
Yeah, that's on the low side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, not everybody is burying their plastic bags in their backyard. There are people just throw it out the window and it lays on the side of the street.
Right. And by the way, I am not throwing trash out. I just want people to know I am digging it up.
We didn't think you were.
And I'm dealing with it.
Let's
I'm still
go
dealing with it.
To the phones, we've got Ricky. Ricky, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Go ahead with your thoughts, Ricky.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to greet us every time we bring you on. You
I like the greeting.
Yes.
Makes me feel important. How you doing, Ricky? Tell me what's up.
Greetings from the Commonwealth
of Pennsylvania.
Absolutely. And you are important. You're as important as I am when it comes to your Constitution, the same as mine, even though we differ. The reason why I called in tonight was the night you were on, Darryl and Ian. A gentleman called in after me, and keeping with what I believe in under Section 7 of the freedom of speech, I'm responsible for what I say and thereof, you see? And Ian did laugh, but see, the laughter stopped when that caller came in because that was wrong what he did. And I know, Darryl, that what you said in the past, and I know what Ian said to him about open carry. This individual, took a serious opposition to what I said. And I can tell you a few things about him. He drew attention to his race. That makes him a racist. Also, on top of that, he asked Ian, maybe you'd like to ask me a question as a black man. That makes it even further. Then he said about paying a visit, to vacation, but he didn't even know where you guys were at. And I brought it into your show, and he challenged me. And I would like a little time because I can't amp right now because of what's going on in my bank, and I'll explain that maybe when Mark's on.
Yeah, you called in to tell us about the bank the bank that you've been with for some time apparently was recently bought out by BB&T. And you had mentioned, when you called in about that, you had mentioned that the bank that purchased Penn National was a Federalist bank, but you never really explained what a Federalist bank is.
I can explain that now.
Go ahead.
See, a Commonwealth Bank, first of all, is a bank that, when you think of the four branches of government, okay?
There's three. Legislative, judicial, and executive.
Oh, you're forgetting the shadow government, Darryl.
How about state? You forgot state.
Okay, yeah.
That's not a branch of government.
Not a branch of the federal government, but we get your gist. But go ahead with your
yeah,
comment.
but the Pennsylvania, there's four of them. The state's important because you have to deal with the state and the legislature, which is of the Commonwealth.
Well,
But anyway, that is said.
Hold on, Ricky. Hold through the news. We'll bring you back in hour number 3, and hopefully you can gather your thoughts and bring forth a coherent explanation of what it is that you were trying to explain. Here on Free Talk Live, your calls and thoughts welcome. 855-450-FREE.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Well, tipping might be a great way. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card-sized Bitcoin tip that is easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets, spending, and returns to the user if unused? Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com. Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org. DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Thursday, July 21st, 2016. Silver is trading at $19.41 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,320 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $667. Antiwar.com reports while the early accounts of the Taliban launching a new offensive in northern Afghanistan's Kunduz province earlier this week were very unclear about what was happening, the fighting has continued for several days and the Taliban's gains have mounted. Now officials are saying that the Taliban controls 65 to 70% of the Kala-i-Zal district and that heavy fighting is still ongoing. The Taliban said they control materially the entire province, though they too confirmed that the fighting was not over. The situation is looking grim for Afghan forces in the area, with the local police commander complaining that very little support was being provided from outside of the district. The district police commander downplayed the offensive when it began, claiming that only one soldier was killed and insisted that he was confident the fighting would end in the next few days. This has been a recurring problem for Afghan security forces in resisting Taliban offensives, as the national government has shown little inclination to send support and would rather let the district fall and retake it later in a counterattack. This is in keeping with
with U.S. pressure on the Afghan government to defend less and attack more, but results in the Taliban gaining more and more territory. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Bitcoin Not Bombs. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system and to fully capitalize on that decision in their fundraising efforts. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. UPI reports Southwest Airlines flights across the country were delayed at least 90 minutes on Wednesday after a computer outage shut down all flights still on the ground. The glitch struck about 2 p.m., leaving the airline without check-in capability or flight status for hundreds of flights. The problems were fixed around 3:30 p.m. According to FlightStats.com, almost 600 Southwest Airlines flights were still delayed at 5:30 p.m. Customers trying to buy tickets or check in on the airline's website were greeted with a message that the site was down. Reportedly, the site was up and running again around 5 p.m. Southwest told Twitter and Facebook followers it would refund customers who were forced to change their travel plans. Some travelers were able to joke about the delays, with one person on Twitter posting, "2 free rounds of adult drinks on my flight home will make it better." For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports Cleveland police arrested 17 protesters on Wednesday after scuffling with demonstrators who tried to set an American flag on fire near the crowded entrance to an arena where Republicans made Donald Trump their presidential nominee. 2 of those arrested were charged with felonious assault on an officer after officers tried to confiscate the flag. Cleveland Police Chief Calvin Williams told reporters some of the protesters' pants caught fire in the incident. Williams, who was at the protest, said, "Whatever they tried to do with the flag, as we were trying to extinguish it and they were trying to keep it away, their pant leg caught on fire," adding the charge was assault on an officer because the officer tried to put it out when he saw it getting burned, and there were also counter demonstrators who were trying to take it away. The other 15 people arrested were charged with a misdemeanor offense of inciting violence near the crowded Quicken Loans Arena. Burning the American flag is protected by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, which supposedly protects the right to free speech. None of the protesters were charged for burning the flag. 2 police officers were injured during the scuffle, according to Williams, and sustained what he described as minor bumps and bruises. Wednesday's incident saw the largest number of arrests during the 4-day convention, which ends on Thursday, and brought the total number of arrested to 22, according to Williams. Previously, 5 people had been arrested in 3 different incidents. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Now, a lot of little girls do ballet even though their fathers couldn't care less and don't see what the big deal is. But one talented little prodigy actually choreographed a whole ballet that her father could enjoy and even look forward to. Let's meet Erin Kemper and her father, Jack.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Erin, how did you do that? I thought about all the things that my dad likes to watch and put it into a ballet.
Well, we have a special treat for you today because Erin is now going to perform her new ballet. When I pay the bills, I get to make the rules.
We can't afford that. World War II. I miss your mother too, but we're going to have to do the best without her. Go Redskins!
Bravo! Well done. Boy, I wish she were mine. You know, my 2 girls are grown up, but you still couldn't pay me to watch one of their a cappella shows. What inspired you to create this amazing ballet?
I'm really inspired by the theme of my dad paying any attention to me at all.
Now, at the end, I hear she just put the game up on the big screen.
I don't know where she gets it.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, kicking off hour number 3 in studio tonight. It's Darryl,
Chris,
and Conan.
We're talking about the state of food in America. And, Chris, we will get into the story out of Massachusetts to where the Attorney General apparently has said something outlandish that they may or may not actually be able to live up to. We'll get into that as well as your calls and thoughts. 855-450-FREE. We go back to Ricky calling in from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Not that it really matters, but the location. It doesn't matter if it's a state or a Commonwealth, although Ricky seems to think that somehow that makes a difference. Ricky, you're back on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thought.
Not only do I seem to think it makes a difference, but obviously Greg thinks it makes a very big difference. Greg from Huntington, supposedly, because
Greg being a person that called the show a couple of nights ago.
And he called me out. It is my responsibility. Now, to answer your question about what a Federalist Bank is, Conan was right. It's a bank that is of the state, as opposed to someone like the three mergers that were mergers, Nazareth National, then merged with Keystone, that made KMBT, and then Penn Bank made National Penn. They were in the Commonwealth. Now, as such, when it comes down to it, they...
Do you mean it's a national bank? You keep saying a Federalist Bank, but do you mean it's a national bank?
I'll give you an example. I'll give you a perfect example. Then just hear me out. It was in 1791, the forming of the Democratic Republican Party by Thomas Jefferson. Now, Jefferson said, and he pointed out Alexander Hamilton as the Federalist, who had to have his hand forced down on the Declaration of Independence. And he said, the Federalists, they are going, this is bearing in Pennsylvania as a center point always. He said, the Federalists, they are threatening our independence. They are threatening our freedoms, and they will destroy our economy. Now, a Federalist bank, as an example, a bank that's of the state, okay, if the bank is located in, say, a Commonwealth. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Now, BB&T bought 41 branches in Texas of Citibank. They next then took over the Bank of Kentucky. Now, Kentucky got holes in their constitution. They next
Kentucky's also a Commonwealth.
Right, but their constitution got holes in it. They're not the same as ours, because if you look at Section 25 and 26, it's unshakable in 1968 with the inversion of the numbers when they added 26, if you read the amendment. Furthermore, they then took over Susquehanna, and then they made sure that it was clickbait, because everybody, including the people at my branch, there was a walkout on customer service. They had the option to stay or leave, and they left, because I myself have been working this for the past month, and the president of my bank was demoted.
All right. So now, what do you consider a Federalist bank?
Okay, perfect good example of that, Wells Fargo. That's a great example. BB&T, because it's from North Carolina on the other side of the Mason-Dixon line. You know, North Carolina being a big...
So basically, you're saying that any bank that is not headquartered in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is a Federalist bank?
No, not necessarily. A Commonwealth bank would also go according to Commonwealth law. Now, Ian pointed about Citizens Bank. I can explain that. You see, example. Now, you see, if I were to go to Citizens Bank in New Hampshire, and I'm a resident of Pennsylvania, there'd be no problem. Because of the non-interference rule with 25 and 26 of the Article I, the Constitution of the Commonwealth, if Ian goes in there, he's in New Hampshire. That is a state. And the state constitution, and that is what they need to go by, because there's a non-interference. When I deal with the representative's office, okay, that is at this level. When I deal with the congressman's office, that is at the state level. Because of the non-interference, they can only interact with me in a certain way.
That seems very conspiratorial, Ricky. Good luck with all of that. Of if you walk into a Citizens Bank in another state, that they have to abide by the Pennsylvania Constitution when you walk in. That just sounds absolutely conspiratorial. Chris, you are from or used to live in Pennsylvania.
I did.
Any of that making any sense to where if you do business with a Pennsylvania company outside of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania laws apply to you and them?
I've never heard that.
Yeah, me
but
either.
not to say I. He sounds like he's read much more about this than I have.
The people that have these weird conspiracy theories, sort of legal theories, they sound very convinced of what they believe.
And maybe sometimes they're right. But I don't know. I can't weigh in. I'm just not that educated in the legalities of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I dealt with it.
It
as
makes
little as I
absolutely no
possibly
difference.
could.
Massachusetts is a Commonwealth, and they have one of the absolute worst governments in the entire country. Being classified a Commonwealth in the Constitution does not make it any different.
Now, if states would actually exercise their rights and push back, which that's why if there's anything I like in the U.S. Constitution, it's the 9th and 10th Amendments.
My favorite part would be the first, 5 words? First 5 words of the Bill of Rights. Congress shall make no law. If that would just be the entirety of...
Just put a period there?
Just Congress shall make no law, period, end of sentence.
Oh, God. I hear you.
So, speaking of Commonwealths and Massachusetts, apparently the Attorney General in the neighbor to the south of where we are did something kind of outrageous a couple days ago.
Do you mean Mordor?
No, not the District of Criminals. Massachusetts.
Massachusetts is Mordor. District of Criminals is the District of Criminals.
District of Criminals is Mordor on the Potomac.
New Hampshire is the Shire.
Yes,
I've seen that meme.
Yes, it's a nice one.
Now I'm very much into protecting my own rights of self-defense and those of others. And the Massachusetts Attorney General wrote an article in the Boston Globe. Excuse me, it was an opinion piece. But it pretty much stated where she is going to go with Massachusetts and these weapons of war, the AR-15s and things like it. I'm going to read first from an article from The Truth on Guns. Breaking: Massachusetts Attorney General bans sale of all new assault weapons, quote unquote, as of today. And this was yesterday. After the usual assault rifles are weapons of war used by mass murderers, anti-AR agitprop, Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey dropped this bombshell at the Boston Globe. The Massachusetts assault weapons ban mirrors the federal ban Congress allowed to expire in 2004. It prohibits the sale of specific weapons like the Colt AR-15 and AK-47 and explicitly bans, quote, copies or duplicates, unquote, of those weapons, but gun manufacturers have taken it upon themselves to define what a copy or duplicate weapon is.
Right, and when I heard that term, what exactly is a copy or a duplicate? Like a replica, something that just looks like an AR but is not functioning as?
Well, that's a good question because that's not clearly defined anywhere else.
Yeah, when you're printing, when you're forming a weapon, every piece is brand spanking new out of the press. So if you're not taking one and like hitting the copy button, you're not.
I think the implication is
if you've got a 3D printer, you can.
Even then, you're still well. I guess if you have your original image in your computer and you hit the print button, then you are kind of copying it from an original image.
I think the Mass AG is saying that if I happen to decide that I'm going to become a firearms manufacturer and she has declared that all AR-15s are illegal, and I come up with the CR-16. And if it's a close copy of that, then that should be illegal.
Okay, so we're talking
too.
about. All right.
Hold on, we'll get into this and your calls and thoughts. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live.
If you're considering going back to school, ask yourself the following questions. Do you need the flexibility to take classes on your schedule? Do you have college credits you need transferred? Do you want to earn a quality degree from a world-renowned university? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Arizona State University is the perfect school for you. Arizona State University offers over 100 highly ranked degree programs 100% online. You'll earn the same degree as you would on campus, from wherever you are, on your schedule. Plus, ASU Online accepts most transfer credits. For information, call 1-800-958-5345. Learn for yourself why the Wall Street Journal ranks ASU 5th in the nation for producing the best qualified graduates, and why 90% of ASU grads are recruited within 90 days of graduation. Learn to grow, learn to succeed, and learn to thrive at Arizona State University. To learn more about ASU online degrees, call 1-800-958-5345. That's 1-800-958-5345.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-704-6182.
A Place for Mom offers free one-on-one advice from local advisors and a personalized list of senior living communities you can visit. If you have questions about senior care for your mom or dad, there's a place for answers, A Place for Mom.
Call A Place for Mom in the next 10 minutes to get your free ebook on financing senior care as well as free information on senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-704-6182. That's 1-800-704-6182.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit did your nerves spike. You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. When you go to bed tonight, I want you to concentrate and pay attention to the position of your head and neck. In many cases, chronic headaches, neck aches, and even back pain can be solved with the right pillow. Your spine should be straight and parallel to the floor. I have a solution. My Pillow is designed to fit to the shape of your body and hold your neck in the proper position. I've been using it for months. Chris has been using it for about a year.
More than that.
What about me? They forgot about me.
How about you? How long have you been using it?
I've been using my feather pillow for the last 4 or 5 years.
That is not My Pillow.
Wait.
That's a completely different pillow. My Pillow is the brand name of the pillow.
Okay, question about My Pillow. All right, so the thing I love about my feather pillow is I can like completely sink my head into it, and I can cancel out like snoring, house creaking, branches rattling up against.
But what you cannot do...
Can I sink my head in this My Pillow and cancel out sound?
What you
that's what I want to know.
cannot do with your feather pillow is throw it in the washer or dryer.
Oh,
I can do that.
I can. It just won't turn out very nice.
Right. You can throw your My Pillow into the washer and dryer, and it's good to be used again. These pillows have a 10-year guarantee. And if you don't like your My Pillow, don't worry, you have a 60-day money-back guarantee. The pillow itself, again, guaranteed for 10 years. And if you use code FTL, you will get a second pillow absolutely free when you go to mypillow.com. Place that order, use code FTL. Let's get back into the article about the Massachusetts Attorney General.
Yep.
And some kind of we're cracking down on everything that we even think kind of looks like an assault weapon or has an A in the name because other weapons have A's in the name.
She's a typical...
those are bad, right?
Typical lawmaker who is afraid and fearful, and there ought to be a law, and she's working on it.
That's where you're a little bit off in that she is not a lawmaker. She is a Massachusetts Attorney General.
She's the law enforcer.
She should be the law enforcer, and what she's basically said is that even though the federal government allowed the assault weapons ban, the federal assault weapons ban, to fall behind, and the fact that Massachusetts passed one that said, you know what, we're going to follow the feds, we're going to start enforcing our own. So to continue with her statements, where we left off, she said, but manufacturers have taken it upon themselves to define what a copy or duplicate weapon is. They market state-compliant copycat versions of their assault weapons. This is her talking, not me talking.
And a lot of times, these things, if you take just a regular, say, 30-06, and you put a muzzle guard on it, and you put some different sort of stock on it, then all of a sudden, it looks more dangerous, so therefore assault weapon.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that. They market state-compliant copycat versions of their assault weapons to Massachusetts buyers. They sell guns without a flash suppressor, or folding or telescoping stock, for example, small tweaks that do nothing to limit the lethalness of the weapon. Now, this is interesting because I'm not even going to say half, 99% of all these assault weapons banned have to do with what the gun looks like and how many rounds it holds.
Yes.
And that's what it comes down to. So what she's saying is that the law that they passed and the law that the feds passed that said you can't have something with a flash suppressor and a telescoping stock while having a hand grip or something ridiculous like that. Gun guys know that does absolutely nothing to the weapon,
right?
Other than make it not look like what you wanted it to look like, and it may be a little more awkward to use. She continues, that will end now. On Wednesday, we are sending a directive to all gun manufacturers and dealers that makes clear that the sale of these copycat assault weapons is illegal in Massachusetts.
So when she says Wednesday, she means yesterday. Or 6 days from now?
I mean yesterday, and she put this out on Tuesday.
Okay.
With this directive, we will ensure that we get the full protection intended when lawmakers enacted our assault weapons ban, not the watered-down version of these protections offered by gun manufacturers. The directive specifically outlines 2 tests to determine what constitutes a copy or duplicate of a prohibited weapon. If a gun's operating system is essentially the same as that of a banned weapon, or if the gun has components that are interchangeable with those of a banned weapon,
so if
it's
it has
copy,
a trigger,
it's a copy or duplicate,
Yes.
and it is illegal. Assault weapons prohibited under our laws cannot be altered in any way to make their sale or possession legal in Massachusetts. So by what she's saying here, virtually every AR or AR clone, or even a lot of rifles.
Hunting rifles.
Well, I'm not even going to talk. I'm going to call them sporting rifles because that seems to be popular with some groups. But guns that use your standard military 30-round magazine, known as a Stanag magazine. There's Israeli guns that actually use the same magazines. It's a good thing if you happen to be in the military to have interchangeable magazines between countries.
Right.
Not that I'm supporting war, but that's simply a fact. And she's saying that anything, and that's also pretty much every AR that's ever been made on the market is going to use that same magazine. Just because of that, she is declaring them illegal in Massachusetts as of yesterday.
Ugh.
I'm going to continue.
Just one more reason to move out of Mordor, guys, and come up here to the Free State.
It is
if
nuts.
you like liberty, and we're not free yet.
If you like liberty, if you just want more of the same, you're going to come up here and start passing your own laws. Once you get up here, then just stay where you're at because we don't want you.
Before we jump back into the article, let's go to the phones. We've got James calling in from Arizona. James, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
Minister Perry, I would appreciate it if you make like your stated profession and not abridge my freedom of speech on so-called Free Talk Live.
I have not abridged your freedom of speech. I told you to go on with your thoughts, and if you're just going to, talk about how I'm somehow not allowing you to talk, then yes, I will dump you because that's a boring call.
Yeah, right. You had a lot more already to say than I have, Minister Perry.
Are you going to go with your thoughts, or are you just going to talk about me?
Continue, please. No, what I am accusing you of being is not what you profess to be. If you don't care for it, that's fine. Let's talk about it.
And I'm accusing you of being a boring caller. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Ralph. Ralph, go ahead with your thoughts.
Hello, Wolfman. Good evening to you. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Go ahead with your thoughts, Ralph.
All right. Let me say this. This animal, El Nigno, as you very well know, is waging a war on police. And
that's what you keep claiming.
Perception is reality. And once again, I want you to look at the man's policy and action. That's where not to mention his flawed character, okay? That's where you make judgment about the animal. He can't tame himself. He can't help himself either. He is an out-and-out animal. That's what
he can't change his spots, Ralph.
Hold your thoughts, Ralph. We will bring you back here on Free Talk Live, and your thoughts are welcome. 855-450-FREE. This is Free Talk Live.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Would you like to receive $250 to $1,000 cash per day? Go to richmoneyrich.com. No website, no selling, no explaining. Just take these simple 2 steps and go to richmoneyrich.com. You can be generating cash in the next 24 hours simply using this system. Good news is, it runs on 100% autopilot, and you don't need any experience to get started. It's easy. Get your share of riches and go to richmoneyrich.com. That's richmoneyrich.com. Go now. Brought to you by the Conservative Investor. Current returns not indicative of future results.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on-demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long-distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu 641-793-9660. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Do you want to help expand the reach of Free Talk Live and Liberty programming in general? Right now, Free Talk Live available on the Liberty Radio Network via free-to-air satellite in most of Africa, North and Central America, and, well, we're hoping to expand this to Europe and parts of Asia and North Africa as well. You can go to fund.lrn.fm right now to learn more about the satellite fundraiser and to contribute. You can get some awesome perks like bumper stickers for the Liberty Radio Network. There's also in-studio appearances that you can have, or like sit-ins, to where if you donate a certain amount of money, you would have to pay your own travel, but there are certain shows on the Liberty Radio Network that are allowing people that make certain level donations to sit in studio during one of the shows. And there are other things. You could name the satellite, for instance, if you donate a certain amount of money. Go to fund.lrn.fm to learn more and help expand the reach of Liberty programming. Let's go back to Ralph calling in from New Jersey. Ralph is alleging that Barack Obama has declared a war on the police and a bunch of other things. Ralph, go ahead with your thought.
And it goes hand in hand with the race war currently being instigated by this animal. Okay? Not only that, he's also planning the blame for that. It's kind of like the new normal in this country right now, to have a race riot, that, or, a terrorist hit, that too, okay? Let's, understand something in here, or come to term, at least, on something here. And that is, Obama is one with Satan. Obama is one with, black criminality.
You keep saying that.
And it's true, okay? Obama is one with radical Islam. And
you also keep saying that, but you do not present any evidence to support your claim.
Yeah, let the man talk. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Let me
Ralph.
finish, okay? Perception is reality. This man is anti-white, anti-Christ, and anti-Semitic.
Okay. Can I jump in here, Ralph?
Please do.
Okay.
Will you
Who
entertain?
am I talking to? Hatchet man, good evening, whoever you are. Identify yourself.
This is Chris. This is Chris. We've spoken
Yes,
before.
Hatchet man. You're my kind of man.
All
You're
right.
my kind of man. Speak your mind, Chris. Speak your mind and speak truth to power.
Ralph thinks all white people sound the same. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, basically, Ralph, I don't disagree that.
There you go.
Sorry, dump button. I don't disagree that Obama has been a very divisive president. He has done little to bring people together. It has been more divisive. I'm going to hold out. I'm going to hold out on the Antichrist. But here's where you and I may differ. I think the problem goes back a lot further than Obama. And I'm going to say it really goes back to Nixon and the war on drugs. And I say that because here we have a country declaring war on its own citizenry. And that we've never really done other than that little pesky Civil War. But now what we've done is we have made the police see all citizens as potential criminals. And that wasn't how it should have been. Go ahead.
Chris, don't forget about alcohol prohibition.
We did that. And we had the exact same. Well, we had
because more cops died during alcohol prohibition than they ever did during the war on drugs. But it's very similar.
Yes, you're absolutely correct on that. And one of the other differences was it wasn't illegal to drink alcohol.
Just to make it.
It was illegal to sell alcohol and to manufacture it. So it was a little different. But when we declared war on drugs, we said that every citizen is a suspect. And so that starts to put into play incentives for police to get federal money, and they do that by getting more drug arrests and things like that.
So they can get that Bearcat.
And I think that's where we began to see this us versus them thing that has gone on. And I just don't see, I look to Obama hoping that he will be one of those guys who would say some of this is a waste of time, this is a waste of money. But of course it wasn't.
But he hasn't.
Yeah, good evening to you.
Ralph, any final thoughts?
All right. Well, we need to think about what's at stake in this coming election. It's not only about taking the country back. It's about setting this country in the right course.
Is it about making America great again, Ralph?
No, it's about making America safe again, Darryl.
Well, and that this wayward, wicked Obama has, really torn this country not only upside down, but what's happening right now with all the, agitation and mayhem and chaos going on in this country. This is straight out of the movie Planet of the Apes. Definitely.
Well,
it's so surreal.
I think Obama's only got like a couple months left to declare martial law and stop all the elections from occurring.
Yeah, and I heard that claim when George Bush was president that somehow he would stop the elections, and now they're alleging that Obama might do it. Ralph, thank you for the call.
But it really doesn't matter because 2017, this is the year that it's all going to go down. And it doesn't matter if Hillary or Trump are in the office because it's going to be so obnoxious and the downward spiral is coming, people. 2017.
Now,
you heard it here on Free Talk Live.
Well, one thing that I think is interesting, and Chris, I'm glad you brought it up because I just read something earlier today that absolutely blew my mind when I read it, written by the Prohibition Party.
Right.
That political party that wants to bring back alcohol prohibition.
Whoa. These people are real?
They're very real, and they have a presidential candidate. Hedges is his last name. He is going to be on the ballot in Tennessee, Mississippi.
Are they just covering alcohol? They're covering all bases.
They want to prohibit a bunch of stuff, but I saw a post that was in their national newsletter, the April, May, June issue, called Relaxing the Rules Against the Use of Recreational Drugs. And they compare and contrast alcohol prohibition with the war on drugs. They say the jail problem is real. Today's drug policy should be informed by the way in which national prohibition was conducted. The 18th Amendment said nothing about possession of alcohol. It criminalized the traffic, the manufacture, the distribution, and the sale of alcoholic beverages. Prohibition did not care if you had some on your person. It was invoked only if you had provided alcohol to someone else. By making alcohol harder to get, they claim that per capita consumption reduced by 2/3. They then write, today's war on drugs has been carried out by criminalizing the victims. That approach has distorted law enforcement, destroyed careers and families, and handicapped hundreds of thousands of otherwise productive citizens by tagging them with criminal records.
I thought everyone, every level of recreational drugs has been attacked. The grower, the manufacturer,
but they
seller.
go more often after the person that has a joint on them. They go after the person that has a pipe.
Because they're the easiest mark.
Right, and the technique is I bust the user, he tells me who his dealer is. I bust the dealer, he tells me who the distributor is. On and on. That's the tactic.
So I just thought it was very interesting to read something put out by the Prohibition Party that was saying the war on drugs is a failure.
Right. My mind is blown right now because that's just something I wouldn't even think about, that those people are actually out there.
You're still caught up on the thing
I know
that they
they're
exist.
out there.
Well, no,
I know that they exist. And back 8 years ago, I interviewed then Prohibition Party presidential candidate Gene Amundsen, and he was saying that they want to prohibit gambling. Because, like, if you're playing poker in your basement with your buddies and you're betting money, that's destroying
I know those
the
people
nuclear
exist.
family.
I know those people exist, but I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around people voting for Hillary. And now you're telling me that it's these prohibition people.
Mind
blown.
Yes, there's these prohibition people, and they're admitting that the war on drugs is a failure.
Ugh.
That is what blew my mind. Has it blown yours? 855 450 free. This is Free Talk Live.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Is negative content or comments on the web affecting your personal or professional reputation? Unfavorable comments, embarrassing pictures, videos, legal documents, and negative articles can ruin your personal life, your career, or your business. It happens a lot, and it's just not fair. But what can you do? ReputationDefender.com can help protect your good name. Get a free consultation now. Call 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Call right now for a free expert reputation analysis. It's easy to squash the unfair attacks with our patented system, and the analysis is absolutely free. Make the best things about you jump out in searches. Protect your personal and professional reputation, your business, and your income. Get your free reputation analysis from ReputationDefender.com right now. Call 800-831-0771. 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com today.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends radio show. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgoristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agorist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers, and some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any tomfoolery. So go with AgoristHosting.com. And if you want to get your foot in the door with decentralized marketplaces, Agorist Hosting is now offering open bazaar hosting. Go to AgoristHosting.com, click on the button that says Get Hosted. Agorist Hosting. That's AGORIST hosting.com.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cams at cam.freetalklive.com? Plus, you can chat with other listeners while you watch, all totally free. Now that our live video stream is hosted by YouTube, our video archives will be online even faster. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Still time for you and your thoughts. If you call now in the closing moments, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We'll get back into this story about the Attorney General in Massachusetts wanting to ban all kinds of things that might look like something that looks like something that has a trigger on it that can fire bullets.
Well, we'll just simplify it. It's basically banning any AR or any AK or any
anything that looks
shotgun.
like.
Right. Yep, that's it.
We'll get back into that, but want to remind you that when it comes to cryptocurrency wallets, you have a lot of choices, but there's only one that holds Bitcoin, Ether, and DAO tokens. That is the Jax wallet, JAXX. Go to jax.io, or you can download it from the App Store, be it the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. All data in the Jax wallet is stored client-side, meaning that they never have access to your funds. This wallet is cross-platform, and their sleek design means smooth functionality on your phone or your computer. It's easy to back up and recover funds if need be. And here's a little insider info. The ultimate aim of Jax is to build you a digital command center for your life. This gives you control over your coins, your currencies, contracts, identity, and more. It's control in the palm of your hand, jax.io. That's JAXX.io. And the Attorney General in Massachusetts, they don't want you to have control in the palm of your hands. They want you to rely on them to control what you put in your hands. Chris has that story.
You bet. So it's we continue with the commentary from the story, which says gun owners in a litigation, the Attorney General does have the authority to make this determination about what can and cannot be sold. And this was litigated by a pro-gun group. It was sort of a compromise some 12 years ago. And back to the story. Going by what I'm reading here, this new directive immediately bans the sale of all new AR and AK-style rifles in the Bay State. I've called several Massachusetts gun stores, and yep, they're pulling all their modern sporting rifles off the shelves, every single one. The Massachusetts AG goes on to reassure gun buyers who purchase copy or duplicate assault rifles that she's not coming for their guns, at least not yet. We recognize that most residents who purchased these guns in the past believed they were doing so legally, so this directive will not apply to possession of guns purchased before Wednesday. That would be yesterday. In the dozen years since the federal assault weapons ban lapsed, only 7 states have instituted their own assault weapons ban. Many of those bans have been challenged unsuccessfully by the gun industry, and we anticipate our directive may be too. But our job is to enforce state laws and to keep people safe. This directive does both. In the face of utter inaction by Congress, States have a duty to enact and enforce laws that protect people from gun violence. If Washington won't use its power to get these guns off our streets, we will.
And the question...
Not only do we have the legal authority to do so, but we have a moral obligation to do so.
The question that all people should consider is if a gun owner, a gun seller, does not take this particular rifle off his shelf that he's selling, what's going to be done, Mr. Reitman?
He will go from being a law-abiding citizen one day to a felon the next.
And how are they going to turn? And when they turn him into a felon, how are they going to take his shop from him or make him discontinue selling these rifles? They're going to.
They'll have men with AR-15s come into the store and take these quote-unquote copycat or state-compliant versions. That is something that is sold without a flash suppressor, without a folding or telescoping stock, or some other small tweak that has nothing to do with making the gun less lethal. It just makes it look less lethal.
So, in other words, the lady here does not want to remove the guns from the street because they'll still be on the street.
Oh,
she
yeah.
just wants to remove the people who are using them to protect themselves. The citizens of the U.S. and of Massachusetts, of Mordor.
And, the thought process that this woman has, this woman being Maura Healey, the Attorney General.
An elected position.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
Because she says that they have a duty to enact and enforce laws that protect people from gun violence, and that she said somewhere in here that they have a moral obligation to do something.
Hold on. That's article... dang it, I'm trying to remember which one of the Bill of Rights covered moral obligations and keeping people safe.
No, what they have an obligation to do, according to the documents that they have sworn to uphold,
is to protect our liberties.
Is to protect life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Yeah. So she's scrounging. She's reaching.
Yeah, she's
overreaching. Is
reaching
what she's doing.
Far up into her rectum and pulling something out from somewhere. Let's go to Skype, where we've got Ryan calling in. Ryan, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead with your thoughts.
I've been watching you for the last couple of...
All right.
No, we can't.
Somebody playing Donald Trump.
We can't play the scene. It's only... Okay.
I don't know how long it was, but that's just a crank call. Somebody playing some... And it was... horrible audio as well.
It wasn't that bad. I thought it sounded all right.
Skype, yeah.
So I hit that.
It sounded like it was coming from the other end of a long tube.
That is the first video clip that I've ever heard on this show, and I was, Donald Trump has a particular sound about him. That's the first one I've ever heard, and I thought that we should have heard it out. I'm surprised.
I don't know.
I'm surprised, Darryl.
It's Donald. You never know when he's going to drop an F-bomb.
You're right. He does drop the.
He does swear a lot.
He drops S-bombs a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you got to screen it with us, guys. You got to tell us. Put it in the chat. Tell us there's a good video clip out that needs to be played on the LRN, and we'll get to it. Don't just throw it out there.
Didn't know exactly what was coming.
Ryan, banned.
One call per night. So, Ryan, I am not answering your call on Skype.
Oh, man.
So,
is there any more to this, Chris?
No, I mean, that is the gist of the story. I know today there were a number of protests being arranged. Actually, there wasn't a protest in Boston today. There's going to be another big rally on Saturday. So a lot of my friends of mine through the Oath Keepers and things like that are heading down there from New Hampshire, and this is what kills me. I kind of avoid the state of Massachusetts because I'm a constant concealed carry guy. So
I avoid the state of Massachusetts because it's absolutely horrible.
There's probably another, but I got friends down there.
Speed traps, red light cameras, the whole nine.
Yeah.
Toll roads.
I get, and this is what happens after you carry a way to protect yourself for years and years and years. Then when you go somewhere where you're not able to, you really, really, really notice it. So
yeah, you know what? And like I said before, this is just one more reason for you guys to move up out of Mordor come up to the Free State with us. Don't bring your bad habits with you, your bad legislation. We are the Free State, and we're trying to keep it that way.
Well, we're trying to become the Free State. That's why it's a project, although not everybody here...
It's one of the freer states in the Union.
Not everybody that has moved for more liberty has moved because of the Free State Project. Some people have moved because of the Shire Society.
The low tax rate.
There's the low tax rate. There's the
clean air.
Incredibly large state legislature. There's 101 reasons that you should move to New Hampshire.
And I'm sorry, number one has got to be, you got a license plate that says "Live Free or Die" on it.
Yeah,
it just doesn't get any better than that.
A lot of people don't get it.
You can go to...
I get it, love it. I want more of it.
I believe it's 101reasonsfilm.com.
And it's on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's now on Rotten Tomatoes. So you can go leave a review on Rotten Tomatoes. Let everybody know that you love it. Get that tomato meter number up. Because right now, I believe there's only one review, and that would be from me, and I'm the guy that sent the email asking Rotten Tomatoes to include it on their site.
Yeah, great. Good job good on you, Darryl.
Yeah, so Ian Freeman, who's the main host of this show, is one of the executive producers of the 101 Reasons film. We were talking one night, and I said, "Is it on Rotten Tomatoes?" He said, "I don't know." I took a look. I said, "It's not. How do you get something on here?" Clicked on the FAQ. Send an email. I can do that. Yep, it's on IMDb. Email sent. About an hour and a half later, I got an email saying, "We've reviewed this. It's now up on Rotten Tomatoes."
Don't you love technology, Darryl?
So 101reasonsfilm.com. Learn about the 101 reasons to move to New Hampshire. And we'll be back tomorrow, as we are all 7 nights of the week, online in the meantime at freetalklive.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty and peace around the globe worth 15 cents per day to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. Last year, we did a fundraiser that successfully covered the costs of continuing our African channel. This year, we're hoping to raise enough to fund a new satellite signal that will cover Europe, North Africa, and much of the Middle East. You can donate as much or as little as you like via the Indiegogo campaign at fund.lrn.fm. And there are perks available like sitting in on your favorite LRN.FM show, exclusive shiny badges, or even naming a satellite channel. Please contribute now at fund.lrn.fm and help us continue our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. The fundraiser ends August 19th, so please visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. That's fund.lrn.fm.
This is your Robertson Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Wednesday, gold is $18 lower at $1,317 per ounce. Silver is 40 cents lower at $19.50 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at $670 US. Talk of a possible Fed rate hike later this year has silver and gold down sharply, making it a great time to buy on the dip. For more information, give us a call at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit